Welcome back to Talks with Dr. Gupta and friends. Having spent decades observing the inner workings of American power, we have witnessed the heights of American exceptionalism. We saw this nation lead the digital revolution, project military dominance through defense titans like Lockheed Martin and General Dynamics, and cultivate a financial system that produced the world's most concentrated wealth. And its first trillionaire, Elon Musk. American supremacy was not a slogan, it was the global operating system. That system is now fracturing under the weight of self-inflicted strategic failures. Look at foreign policy in the Middle East. For all the aggressive posturing toward Iran, Washington has lost its leverage. Instead of isolating Tehran, years of erratic policy pushed Iran directly into a strategic, energy-backed alliance with Beijing and Moscow. Whenever Washington issues ultimatums in the Persian Gulf or threatens global trade wars, it routinely backtracks the moment domestic markets panic or economic shockwaves hit. On Wall Street and in foreign capitals, this pattern is no longer viewed as strategy. It is recognized as the taco doctrine. Trump always chickens out. From announcing sweeping, punitive tariffs only to quietly delay or waive them weeks later, to threatening military strikes in the Middle East without a clear exit strategy, this posture creates chaos without results. Adversaries like China and Iran have mapped this behavior. They know that behind the aggressive rhetoric lies a total absence of long-term strategic execution. While Washington indulges in political theater, China has systematically captured the foundation of 21st century power. Through state-backed conglomerates like China Northern Rare Earth Group, Beijing controls over 70% of global rare earth extraction and up to 90% of magnet production. Without elements like dysprosium and neodymium, every F-35 Lightning jet built by Lockheed, every defense system from RTX, and every advanced semiconductor chip engineered by NVIDIA comes to a complete halt. The greatest tragedy, however, is the betrayal of the American working class. Millions of voters across Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Michigan were promised a manufacturing renaissance through protectionist trade wars and grand declarations. Instead, American farmers lost vital export markets, factory job growth stagnated, and corporate tax cuts enriched Wall Street while leaving working families to absorb higher prices on everyday goods. The promised return of industrial grandeur turned out to be a public relations exercise that left heartland communities behind. Welcome back to Talks with Dr. Gupta and friends, as we examine the deep structural cracks beneath America's technological and financial dominance. To listen to Silicon Valley executives or Washington politicians, you would believe America's AI dominance is unassailable. We point to Microsoft, NVIDIA, Apple, and Alphabet driving global stock indexes to record highs. We celebrate private valuations for pioneers like OpenAI and Anthropic, and the personal fortunes of figures like Elon Musk and Jensen Huang. But market capitalization is not the same thing as industrial sovereignty. American AI superiority rests on a shockingly fragile single point of failure: advanced semiconductor manufacturing. Over 90% of the world's most sophisticated microchips powering NVIDIA's GPUs are manufactured in Taiwan by TSMC, using photolithography machines made by a single Dutch monopoly, ASML. Should a military blockade or geopolitical crisis sever that supply line, American AI innovation grinds to an immediate halt. While Washington relied on trade restrictions and chip export bans, China adapted. Chinese champions like Huawei and SMIC have accelerated domestic fabrication capabilities, pushing hardware efficiency to its absolute limit. In software, Chinese tech giants like Baidu, Tencent, and Alibaba are leveraging massive open-source AI frameworks to deploy functional enterprise AI across manufacturing, logistics, and smart cities at a fraction of Western operational costs. At the same time, China holds an iron grip on green technology and energy storage. Companies like CATL and BYD dominate global battery supply chains, while Chinese solar and wind manufacturers control over 80% of global production. This creates a massive bottleneck for the US energy grid. Running next-generation AI data centers demands staggering amounts of continuous electricity, power that the aging, fragmented US energy grid simply cannot deliver without massive infrastructure overhaul. Compounding this industrial challenge is a growing financial vulnerability: the erosion of the US dollar's global supremacy. By weaponizing financial sanctions and freezing sovereign reserves, Washington forced major developing economies to seek alternatives. Through the expanded BRICS bloc, incorporating China, Russia, India, Brazil, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Iran, global trade in local currencies is expanding rapidly. As nations settle energy deals in yuan or dirhams, the United States faces the long-term risk of losing its ultimate economic privilege, printing the world's reserve currency to finance its skyrocketing national debt. Welcome back to Talks with Dr. Gupta and friends for the final part of our analysis on reconstructing American power for a multipolar world. If the United States is to survive this geopolitical shift, it must abandon the dangerous illusion that bombastic rhetoric, protectionist slogans, and military brinkmanship can substitute for real industrial execution. The political playbook of promising to bring back 1950s factory jobs through erratic tariffs only to back down when global supply chains react has proven to be a devastating betrayal of the American working class. Millions of Americans in the Rust Belt were sold a fantasy, while Wall Street reaped the benefits of deregulation and corporate stock buybacks. To secure its future, America requires a cold-eyed, bipartisan national strategy focused on three non-negotiable pillars. Pillar 1, True Supply Chain Sovereignty. America must move beyond paper subsidies and streamline the domestic construction of critical infrastructure. That means securing domestic refining for rare earth minerals, supporting domestic foundries like Intel, and building direct processing partnerships with trusted allies in South America, Australia, and Canada. Pillar 2, Energy Modernization for the AI Era. You cannot lead the artificial intelligence revolution on a 20th century power grid. The federal government must expedite nuclear regulatory approvals for modern small modular reactors, remove bureaucratic delays for high-voltage transmission lines, and invest heavily in grid-scale energy storage. Pillar 3, the Human Capital Overhaul. America's true competitive advantage has always been its human talent. Yet, the current higher education system saddles students with trillions in debt for degrees that fail to prepare them for the modern technical workforce. Washington must pivot funding away from bloated administrative university structures and direct it into vocational engineering, advanced manufacturing apprenticeships, and specialized STEM training programs in direct partnership with firms like Boeing, Tesla, and General Electric. American exceptionalism was never a birthright. It was built through strategic discipline, relentless innovation, and investments in the American worker. If we continue down the path of political distraction, financial speculation, and strategic retreat, history will record this era as the moment the American empire chose spectacle over substance. Thank you for watching Talks with Dr. Gupta and friends. Stay sharp, stay informed, and let's keep analyzing the forces shaping our world.